Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. I am Reza Pustika, M.Pd, the lecturer of English for specific purposes subject. English for specific purposes has become an interesting topic for over decades in English education field. As English functions as communication, international language, people all over the world find it essential to learn English. Moreover, learning English to support their study or career. Here, English for specific purposes takes place. English for specific purposes, or ESP, is known as a learner-centered approach to teaching English as a foreign or second language. It meets the needs of mostly adult learners who need to learn a foreign language for use in their vocational fields, such as science, technology, medicine, leisure, and academic learning. This course is recommended for students or teacher candidate professionals who wish to learn how to design ESP courses and programs in an area of specialization such as English for business, for civil engineering, for academic purposes, and for health service purposes. In addition, they are introduced to ESP instructional strategies, materials adaptation and development, and evaluation. In this learning video, the topic we are going to discuss is English in workplace. Before we go further to the discussion, I want to inform you that materials in this video are taken from Partridge B and Starfield S 2013. The title is The Handbook of English for Specific Purposes. English in workplace. An increasingly globalized workforce and the overwhelming use of English as a de facto working language have created significant demand for workplace-specific courses. In parallel with this demand is the development of a field of applied sociolinguistic research which explores how people use language to negotiate their working lives. While ESP typically focuses on skills development and language learning. Workplace discourse research is interested in identifying how language is used to achieve both tasks and people-oriented goals. This is clearly of relevance to those working in ESP. Understanding more about how people communicate effectively in the workplace, as demonstrated by the analysis, has the potential to facilitate thorough needs analysis in similar workplace contexts. Workplace discourse researchers typically collect and analyze naturally occurring talk to gain a greater understanding of the ways in which language is used on an everyday basis in the workplace context. This way of analyzing talk is also a reaction to the artificiality of experimental design, such as contrived group and researcher elicited language. These types of data often downplay the contextual nature of workplace talk, where hierarchical differences, personal and long-term working relationships, and work histories play an overt role in the way in which we design our talk. Instead, a discourse analytic approach relies on data which captures people talking at work, data which requires the cooperation of workplace participants and their colleagues. A significant step in the establishment of the field of workplace discourse was the development of a methodology which created opportunities for precise access to real workplace talk. This permitted the analysis of authentic interaction rather than a reliance intuitions and assumptions about communicative behavior, information which is notoriously unreliable. This Australian project was highly influential in establishing the feasibility of collecting authentic recording as a source of information about workplace talk. The principle of data collection were taken up by the long-standing language in the workplace project in New Zealand in 1996. In establishing this design, a necessary and fruitful contribution has been the flexible and adaptable nature of the approach, which has allowed the team to develop procedures for recording in factories, IT organizations, hospital awards, small regional workplaces, and more recently workplaces which operate following specific cultural norms based on a shared ethnicity other than the majority group. The success of this design for collecting good quality everyday talk has meant that many other researchers have developed and adapted the applications of the philosophy in workplaces around the world, including ongoing in multinational organizations in Europe. Snur and Chan 2011 in companies in Hong Kong, Ledegard 2011 in global business cooperation, as well as several researchers working in the United Kingdom. Consequently, there are many growing corpora of authentic workplace talk, and analysis of these interactions provides useful information about how people talk in workplace on an everyday basis. A particular important part of this philosophy is the role of the participants in the research. The ethics of recording in a workplace have always been a key consideration within the field, recognizing that a workplace is a high-stakes environment with tangible consequences for the participants. The importance of talk at work. Talk, whether spoken or written, is central to this research and naturally to ESP. Sarangi and Roberts argue that workplaces are held together by communicative practices. Talk is how we do our work. An obvious focus for analysts is the task we achieve through language. Transactional or task-oriented interaction refers to the core on-topic talk we expect in the workplace. Equally represented in the field analysis of people-oriented relational talk at work. The prevalence of small talk and humor in English-speaking workplaces suggests that the misguided perception that relational talk is dispensable must be challenged. The functions of humor at work have been investigated in detail, from goals of solidarity which emphasize shared group membership, to those which enact power moves. A team that engages in practical jokes might use this behavior to cement inclusion and to encourage a productive working relationship. The relevance of people-oriented talk has proven particularly salient for those from non-English backgrounds. Slide 1994 notes that interesting reactions to talk outside the socially sanctioned task-focused interaction we typically associate with work. He describes puzzlement from non-native speakers when native speakers engage them in what they perceive as irrelevant, off-topic small talk. Having the skills to recognize and interpret such features in context even if they do not initially extend to being able to produce these strategies, is something which can be immensely beneficial to those entering workplaces as non-native English speakers. The overall trend which emerged is to emphasize the importance of both transactional and relational talk. Alongside business-oriented talk, an effective workplace participant must also understand local ways of being sociable and local norms for managing small talk, humor, and friendly chat. It is also clear that the same utterance can perform both functions simultaneously. Like all interaction, workplace talk is multifunctional, and the relationship between form and function is complex. Embracing this perspective, there are increasing calls to encourage learners to develop analytic skills rather than teaching particular formula or strategies. This also addresses various practical concerns, for example, how to meet the needs of learners from assorted background on diverse career and with different workplace goals. A focus on discourse analytic rather than English language skills encourages a move away from the decontextualized nature of some ESP materials and toward a focus which allows learners to assess and evaluate the English they meet in their own workplace interaction. The exploratory process outlined in their model aims at facilitating the development of intercultural competence. Learners are exposed to authentic inter-English in the workplace and encouraged to notice language use which is marked or distinctive based on their experience and or mother tongue norms. This is followed by reflections on the possible reasons for the particular language use and their own response to the interaction. The next step is for the learners to use the language feature or output and to experiment with new forms and strategies. In line with the clinical nature of the model, learners are then encouraged to consider the interpersonal outcomes of using the new forms. This, in turn, leads to more reflection and experimentations. Once again, engaging with the reflexive nature of such an approach. An added benefit of this approach is its potential as a method of empowering rather than simply shaping learners to fit or replicate majority group patterns. Byram 1997 notes that interactions involving learners will not be the same as native speaker interactions, and we must therefore be cautious of aiming for an unrealistic goal. A real reflexive framework that draws on discourse analytic techniques facilitates opportunities for learners to reflect on their own language experiences and practices and on the language practices of others in the institutions of which they are a part and in the wider society in which they live. This style of learning, and specifically the emphasis on noticing, speaks to current debates on the importance of pragmatic instruction within English teaching for the workplace context. Belcher, 2004, argued that the perceived shortcomings of ESP were the focus on a narrow range of contexts, and thus in isolation from real-life context. This speaks to the very heart of what workplace discourse research can cover. Sadly, a productive dialogue between practitioners and researchers is uncommon. Just as researchers work in negotiation with workplaces, it seems that there is an important need for researchers and practitioners to collaborate in ways which facilitate the development of appropriate, relevant teaching materials and approaches, which help prepare learners for the realities of English at work. The disparate worth of workplace researcher and those teaching English for the workplace are particularly apparent in the evaluation of teaching materials, an important part of the research agenda in ESP. Well, that covers what I want to share with you in this learning video. For your own ESP courses, I recommend you to read more on the works of experts I cited in this learning video. You will surely get inspiration from them. If you want to have further discussion under this topic, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much to watch this video until it ends. Don't forget to like the videos in Kuliah Teknokrat channel and subscribe it. It will surely help your college study. I'm Reza Pustika signing out. Thank you. Goodbye.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen, dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.